Hello Year 10. Today we're going to be learning about tigers. Oh no, sorry, wrong lesson. It's Animal Week here and we've been learning a lot about animals here at Hanley's Academy. Not for you though. Today we're going to look at ownership of business as they grow. So quick reminder, last lesson we looked at why a business might grow, and we looked at two different ways a business could grow. We looked at organic growth and inorganic growth. So let's think for a minute. Can we remember which one is it where a business grows on its own and which one involves combining with another business? Let's have a think. Do you know that? Well done, yeah, you're right. Organic growth is growing on its own, okay? And inorganic is growing through mergers and takeovers. So if a business decides to grow on its own, what they might do is look at changing their ownership of their business. So we looked at ownership before in relation to small businesses, okay? And we looked at these different types of ownership. So what I want you to do is just take a moment and see if you can think back to when we learnt this earlier in the year. We looked at the options of sole trader, partnership, franchises, and private limited companies. Now, if any of these terms seem unfamiliar, what I want you to do is to pause the video and to go back and have a little look through these, okay? I kept it still just in case you paused it there. But hopefully you remember all of these, yeah? And these are options for small startup businesses, okay? Now, if you want to grow, there's no reason why you can't stay in these forms of ownership. But one of the options available to you as you become a larger business is to become a public limited company, and that's what we're going to look at today. We're looking at 2.1, growth, growing the business, ownership, and we're looking at public limited companies. These are two sort of key things that you need to understand what they are and what they mean: stock exchange and stock market flotation. And hopefully by the end of this you will understand sort of what a PLC is, and why it's good and maybe why it might not be, okay? Public limited companies tend to be called PLCs, yeah? And they have PLC after their name to indicate that it's a public limited company. And you can buy shares in those companies in the stock market, okay? The stock market is where those shares of businesses are sold or bought. And when we talk about stock market flotation, so this key term here, stock market flotation, it's when a business will decide to sell equity in its business and float it on the stock exchange. See if it sinks or swims, if you like. Oh, that's why it's see if it floats or not, sinks, you know, that kind of metaphor. Now, there are various advantages and disadvantages to being a public limited company, okay? And through examining these, we can understand PLCs a little bit more. So what you're going to do is you're going to write down in your notes that we're looking at public limited companies, and you're going to either put two headings in a table, or you might list the advantages and then the disadvantages, okay? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some points first, and then you're going to decide, is that an advantage or a disadvantage? And you can pause at any time to write these down in your notes. Okay, so we've got about 10, I think. First one, greater public awareness of the business. If you can buy shares in the business and they're available on the stock exchange, it's automatically going to create a greater public awareness of the business. So is that an advantage or a disadvantage? Shouldn't be too tricky. Okay, another one. There are more complex accounting and reporting procedures. Okay, so you have to produce company accounts. Your information has got to be registered. There's a lot of accounting details that you have to do. Okay, you don't need to worry about all of these for now, okay? Because A, you haven't got a massively growing business, and B, you don't need to know it for your exam just yet, okay? As and when you've created your own business and you're turning into a PLC, give me a call if you need some help with those accounting procedures. I will happily help you for a share in your business. Okay. Next point, you would have limited liability. Do we remember what this means? Hopefully we do. Limited liability. It means, you know, worst case scenario, you'd only lose what you invested in the business. You didn't lose your personal possessions. You can sell shares and therefore raise finance. So if you sell a share in your business, if you're giving away some equity for a share in the future profits, you know, the people buying those shares would give you money, and therefore you could use that money to fund your growth, right? If you didn't want to go merger and takeover. Talking of takeovers, if you're selling shares in your business, there is a risk. There's a risk of a potential takeover that you do not want. So if somebody buys up all the shares and then tries to take you over, okay, this is a possibility. Got a bit of a frog in my throat this morning. You will have increased public and media attention. Now, be careful of this one. Is that a good thing or is it a bad thing? You're considered, whether this is true or not, is another sort of story. You're considered more prestigious and more reliable. Is that an advantage or a disadvantage? You may be able to negotiate better prices with your suppliers, probably because of the prestigious and reliable sort of consideration around your business. There would be less privacy around financial performance. So you have to publish your accounts online. If some of you are interested, you can go and have a look at any PLC and look up their company accounts. It's interesting, actually. Well, I mean, relatively, it depends, doesn't it? There is greater influence on decision making by external stakeholders. Is that a benefit or a drawback? Okay, so what you're going to have to do is to organise those into benefits and drawbacks. Okay, you're going to write them down, and what you're going to do is you're going to ping the task back to me or your teacher. Okay, if you are not in my class, please obviously send it to your teacher under the correct headings. Okay, and then what we can see is, do you understand what are the benefits and drawbacks of being a public limited company? Okay, that's one of your tasks today. All right. Now, one of the other things that we're going to look at today is funds for growth. Okay, so how do we finance the growth of our business? Now, one of the ways that we've just talked about is this stock market flotation. Okay, and selling shares on the stock market, becoming a PLC, that is one of the ways you can fund growth. Okay, if you're a private limited company, we'd call that share capital. But if we're a public limited company, we'd say, well, you can still say share capital, but it would be through stock market flotation. Okay, and you would also be able to get a loan. Okay. Just one reminder that actually, if you are a growing business, you've also got internal sources of finance available to you. So still the same as you would do as a small business, retained profits, you know, money that you've already got in the business. You could sell some assets, so something that you don't need anymore, and you could sell that to fund growth in a different area of your business. And you could use your savings as an owner. Okay, so they're the main sources of finance to grow your business. Can you please make sure, I'll hold them up one at a time, that you've got notes for this, So this is how you fund your growth internally and externally. Now, there are advantages and disadvantages of these sources of finance, okay? Most of them all come down to a couple of things. The cost of that source of finance in terms of borrowing, okay? And also share of ownership. If you share the ownership of your business through selling shares, yeah, then you are going to have to share your profits. And you will lose some control over your business moving forward. So most of these, apart from the stock market flotation, which we've kind of talked about, most of these we have studied before in terms of small business ownership. So what I want you to do is to recap on these, okay? And just write some short bullet points on the advantages and disadvantages of raising money this way, okay? If you would like to use your revision guide, okay, this is going to be perfect, which is why I haven't written them out, because they put it really nicely in here. So on page 65 of your revision guide, you've got this section here, this table here. Now this is quite wordy and lengthy. I'm not expecting you just to copy out the book, because that's just pointless. I want you just to think about what the benefits are and drawbacks of each of the types of finance. And what you could do is you could actually just practice writing this as a sentence. So it gives you sort of practice at that sort of exam skill of balance. All right, so it's very easy to think to yourself, now if I use my own savings, that's going to be really quick, okay, and there's no cost involved. It's really convenient. On the other hand, I might not have any savings. I mean, I don't have any savings. You know, so if I wanted to grow my business, this probably wouldn't be the best option for me. Okay, so we're quite used to thinking like that. So what we want to do is practice writing like that. Okay, so for the second part of this lesson, what I would like you to do is to take our 6 sources of finance for business growth that we've already looked at, and I'd like you to write a sentence for each of them, okay? And that sentence needs to be balanced, okay? You could do 2 sentences if you really must, but actually, you know, when we're thinking about an exam situation, you actually want to be able to write this in a sentence, quite balanced answer quite quickly. So let's practice that skill as well as being confident in our understanding. So we might say, as I said before, owner's savings. Whilst this may be quick and convenient, the owner may not have savings. Okay, so we've given a couple of benefits and we've given a drawback, and we've done it all in one sentence. Right, it's really good practice for when it comes to your exams. Okay, stock market flotation you should be able to do now. Okay, so whilst the business may gain finance from investors, they will also have to share their profits, and the accounting procedures are really complicated. Okay, so think about using your revision guide. You should have 2 sections to this, PLCs, and then leading on to funds for growth. So just to recap, what I would like is some notes about stock market flotation. Okay, your benefits and drawbacks using the prompts that I've given you. Okay, the second thing is funds for growth, 6 well-balanced sentences that summarise the benefits and drawbacks of these sources of finance. Okay, if by any chance you do not have your revision guide, what I'm going to do, I don't know if this will even work, but if it doesn't, can you please email me or your teacher? But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pause that, get my face out of it for a start, but I can't quite see what I'm doing otherwise. I'm going to put it there for a sec. So theoretically then, if you need to pause it, you might be able to pause it and read it. Hopefully. If that doesn't work and you don't have one of these, can you please get in touch with your teacher? We are going to be working from home, it looks like, you know, a little while longer at the very least. So this is going to be useful. And also, if you want to look back at anything from Unit 1, you can, like, say, ownership. Oh, I don't remember what she was talking about with sole traders. You can go back and have a quick look, okay? So, by the way, if you did want to go and have a look, page 38, 39, okay? We've got some of these, okay, in school, and there is a strong possibility that we can get one to you. So if you really do not have one, please ask your teacher, okay? Just email them. I think that's it. Okay, it's gone on a bit long, I'm really sorry, but this is a double lesson, so you've got another hour and 45 minutes to get all of this done, so you should be fine. It's half term next week, so you're going to have a bit of a breather. For those of you that want to do a bit more, I strongly recommend going back over Unit 1 stuff and keeping that fresh in your mind in whatever way you choose. You might decide to have a go at doing some Seneca, have a look at the BBC Bite Size on these topics, and some stuff from last year. And if you are struggling, but you definitely would like some more work, but you're struggling to think what, can you please ask me or your teacher for some extra bits and pieces. I also strongly recommend that what you do at the moment is to make sure you're looking at the news, you know, and looking at what's going on in terms of business and this whole coronavirus hoo-ha. Okay, have a good break as well. It is really important that we have some downtime and, you know, get to do some relaxing stuff like, you know, colouring in or playing music, drawing, crafting. Oh, my crafting this week, I have to say I'm pretty pleased with that. If you can make an animal out of a toilet roll, I've done 2 this week. I've done a tiger and a monkey. I'm going to try and do another one today. Feel free to have a go at that. It's very relaxing and therapeutic, you know. Enjoy your time off in whatever way you choose to do. Get outside, get some exercise, but socially distance, people. Yeah, take care. All right, guys, bye. Trying to find the button.